There's so much content out there these days, especially in the AI space, that staying up to date feels like a full-time job. So I thought, why not pick a reputable source, repurpose the content, and put it somewhere I can easily read every day? Then it hit me. I already have a website. Why not turn that information into blog posts? That way, I get a daily digest of AI news and boost my site's visibility, not just on search engines, but also to large language models like ChatGPT. After all, a lot of people are now searching through these models instead of going straight to Google. So I did some digging and built a workflow in N8N that solves all of this. It pulls info from a trusted source, repurposes it into a blog post that's fully optimized for both SEO and LLMs, and it can easily be modified to do the same for any niche you have. In this video, I'll show you exactly how it works. If you don't feel like following every single step, or if you prefer having the workflow open in front of you while you work on it, which is actually a great idea, you can grab the complete template from our classroom in the school community. Just scroll down to the template section in the course, and you'll find both templates there. Download them and import them directly into N8N. That said, I'm trying to teach you how to fish, not just hand you the fish. Otherwise, you will need a new fish tomorrow. Building the workflows yourself is the best way to really learn how this all works. If you only use the pre-made templates, you might get results, but you'll miss out on understanding why things work the way they do. That is also why I don't edit out my mistakes, so you can see how to resolve them. So go ahead, explore, experiment, and get hands-on with it. That's where the real learning happens. Alright, let's kick things off with a quick demo. The first node taps into an RSS feed to grab the latest news. I'll walk you through how to set all of this up as we go through the course. For this example, we're pulling from the BBC News channel. The top story this morning is, will Romania vote to take the country away from the European mainstream? From there, we pass the article through Firecrawl, which reads the content. Next, it heads over to an SEO assistant that analyzes it for search optimization. Then, it's sent to the SERP API. That's basically a Google search engine, which finds related articles to verify the information and provide additional context. All that data is then handed off to the Create SEO agent. This agent ensures our final article is SEO compliant, so it can be found easily by both search engines and language models. After that, it moves into the blog writer agent, which creates a full blog post from all the gathered insights. Then, we run it through a refined blog agent. Think of this like our editor-in-chief, to make sure everything is polished and ready to publish. Once we have the final markdown, we convert it to HTML. Then we use OpenAI's new image generator to create a custom image for the blog. We download that image, resize it, and it's ready to go live. And just like that, your blog post is published. It's searchable, looks professional, has an eye-catching AI-generated image, and a well-structured SEO-friendly layout. Pretty slick, right? What would normally take you a full day of research and writing now takes just a few minutes. Alright, let's get started by naming our new workflow. We'll call it RSS Book Blog Writer. First, click on Add New Node and search for the RSS node. What we're looking for specifically is the RSS feed trigger. This node lets us control how often we check for new content. In our case, let's set it to trigger once a day. Now we need to provide the URL for the RSS feed we want to use. To do that, we'll head over to rss.app. Once you're there, sign up for a free account. Google Sign-In makes it quick and easy. After registering, you'll land on your dashboard. This is where you manage and favorite RSS feeds. Click on Create New Feed. You'll see a huge selection available, so to narrow it down, type Music into the search bar. Find a feed that looks interesting, and click Save Feed. Let's go ahead and add one more feed, just so we have a bit more variety. Now we've got 2 feeds saved. But here's the catch. The RSS node can only accept one URL. To work around that, we'll create a bundle. Create New Bundle. Choose the feeds you want to include, click Next, give your bundle a name, and hit Create. Finally, Copy the URL of your new bundle and paste it into the RSS node. And just like that, your workflow now has a dynamic feed source to pull from. Once we run this, you'll see that it pulls in the latest article, complete with the title and a link. If you copy that link and open it in a new browser window, it'll take you straight to the full article. Next, we're going to use the Firecrawl API to scrape the article and extract all the information we need. To do that, add a new HTTP request node in N8N. For this to work, we'll need an API key. So head over to Firecrawl, sign up for a free account, and follow the steps to complete the welcome setup. Once that's done, click on the API Keys menu item and create a new key. Give your key a name, click Create, and copy the new key. Now head back to N8N, and we'll plug it in. Alright, back in N8N, go ahead and paste the Firecrawl URL into the URL field of the HTTP request node. Before we move on, let's give this node a clear name, something like Read Article. Now we need to authenticate the connection to Firecrawl. For that, choose Generic Credential Type, then select Header Auth, and click on Create New Credential. In the New Credential Setup, type Authorization, it's case sensitive. Then, type Bearer, followed by a space, and paste in your API token. It's important to keep the word Bearer and the space in front of the token. That's what makes the authentication work correctly. Also make sure there is no space left after authorization. Once that's done, cut the full token string out of the value field and paste it into the proper input for the header. Then go ahead and click Save. Doing it this way makes things super convenient. Since the credential is now saved, you only have to set it up once. Next time you need it in another workflow, you can simply select it by name and you're good to go. Next, click on Send Headers and add a new header with the key content type and the value application/JSON. Then, scroll down and select Send Body. Choose the JSON option and paste in the body text. You'll find it on the community page, right next to the link. Oops! This one's supposed to be a post request, so just switch that over and hit Run. As you can see, we now get back all the data from the article. Okay, so next we need to pass that data into an LLM to generate a proper SEO title. To do that, click the plus sign, type in OpenAI, and select Message and Model. For this example, we'll use a model like GPT 4.1 Mini. In the message prompt, paste in the prompt. You can find it in the community section right over here. Just copy it and paste it into the field. This prompt helps sanitize the blog title by removing emojis and any extra fluff. Next, click Add Message. Select System Prompt. Open that section, then copy the system message from our blog and paste it in here. This one tells the model it's acting as an SEO assistant. Its job? Take a long, cluttered blog title and return a short, clean version. No emojis, no special characters, so we can feed it into the search engine and get the best results. Now, let's add another HTTP node. Click the plus sign, search for HTTP, and add the node. This is where we'll set up the SERP API to perform a Google search. Once again, head over to the community page and copy the API URL. Set up the query parameters. The engine should be set to Google, since we're using Google for the search. For the query itself, we want to use the cleaned up message we got from the previous node. Just drag that right into the query field. Then, click on Test Step. Google will now run the search and return the most relevant content it finds. To save time and API cost, let's pin these nodes, select them all, and press P. Now, this next part's a bit more technical. Since SERP API returns the results in Markdown, we need to untangle that into more manageable sections before passing it to the next agent. To do that, we're going to add a code node. Click the plus sign, search for code, and select the code node. In the JavaScript section, head back to the community page, copy the code snippet provided, paste it into the node, and then click Test Step. This will clean up the Markdown and break it down into neat, structured chunks we can work with more easily. Just realized we made a little mistake. The data in the previous output node doesn't look right. That's usually a sign we used the wrong URL. Let's go back and check. Yep, that's definitely not the correct one. Head over to the community page and you'll see the proper URL listed there. Let's copy that node, paste it in place of the incorrect one, unpin the old node, and run it again. Ah, the joys of coding. Always a twist. Looks like the Search API is protected, so we'll need an API key to use it. Head over to the SERP API website. Once you're there, just register. Using your Google login is the quickest way. After signing in, you'll land on your dashboard, and you'll see your API key right there. Go ahead and regenerate it if needed, then copy the key. Now, head back over to N8N. Alright, same steps as before. For auth, click on Generic Credential Type. Under Auth Type, choose Query Auth, then under that, select Create New Credential. In the name field, type in API_key, and then paste your actual API key into the value field. Hit Save and close it. Now, go ahead and run it again. Ah, much better. Okay, let's go ahead and pin that response, just so it stays put. Now, rerun the code node to process the updated data. Okay, that's looking a lot better. Now we've got the keywords we need. Next up, we need to pass that into another LLM agent to process the information further. Easiest way to do that? Just copy the existing OpenAI node. Hit Ctrl+C to copy, then Ctrl+V to paste it. Open up the duplicated node, and we'll update the prompts to match this next step. Since we copied the previous node, everything's already set up. Credentials and the model are all good to go. I'm using GPT 4.1 Mini here, but feel free to use whichever model you prefer. Now for the main prompt. Head over to the school community page, Step 3, and copy the prompt from there. Come back and paste it into the main prompt field. Next, open the system prompt section, go back to the community, and copy that system prompt as well. It might sound a bit technical, but what it's really doing is giving the model clear instructions based on known SEO standards, so it can generate content that search engines can actually use to find your blog. Paste that in, hit Test Step. Alright, let's pin that node so it doesn't rerun every time, and go ahead and rename it to something like Create SEO. Now we'll need another one to actually write the blog content. Just make a copy of the current node, Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V, then open it up and update the prompts to fit the blog writing task. Okay, for this one, head over to the community page and copy the first prompt. Come back to N8N and paste it into the main prompt field. Now for the system prompt, go back again, copy the large system prompt, and paste it in here. What this does is apply best practices to generate a full blog post using all the information we've gathered so far. The result? A solid, well-researched article. This kind of thing happens sometimes when you're working with pinned data. We try to pin as much as we can to avoid unnecessary calls, but some nodes really want fresh data to do their job. So if you hit an error, just unpin the node it's complaining about, then run the workflow again. And let's go ahead and rename this one to Blog Writer. I think that's a fitting name. Alright, let's pin those two nodes again. No need to rerun them every time. Now, the next step is to add an agent we can equip with tools to refine the blog further. This agent will do additional research, using something like a web search, and enhance the post. In this case, we're going to use Perplexity for that. To set it up, click on the plus sign, search for Agent, and select AI Agent. Now plug it into the last node in your flow and open it up to configure. First, let's name our agent Refine Blog. Then, from the drop-down menu, select Define Below. Now for the prompt, head over to the community page, copy the prompt, and paste it in here. Next, switch the drop-down to System Prompt so we can add a system-level instruction. Again, go back to the community page, copy the system prompt, and paste it here as well. After that, we need to attach a model. Click on the Model section, search for OpenAI, select OpenAI Chat Model, and for this example, I'm going with GPT-4 Mini. Finally, let's give it a tool. In my case, I'm assigning it a custom tool that's embedded inside an agent. Alright, let's talk about this workflow. N8N lets you call one workflow from within another. So, take a look at this simple example I've set up. I've named it Perplexity Web Access. For any of my N8N workflows, whenever I need to tap into Perplexity Web Search, I just call this specific workflow. Pretty handy, right? Just imagine how many complex workflows you can chain together like this, one calling the next. Of course, you don't have to use MCP for this, but that's a topic for another day. So, let me show you how to set this up. Let's take a moment to talk about Perplexity. If you haven't come across it yet, it's called Perplexity.ai. Think of it as a blend between a large language model and a search engine, kind of like a smarter, more streamlined version of Google. So, say you want to look something up. Back in the day, you'd do a Google search, get a list of links, and then click through site after site, doing your own digging. Perplexity changes that. It visits multiple websites for you, gathers the information, and then summarizes what it found, all in one go. Even better, it tells you exactly where the info came from, including the links it used. You can click through to those sites yourself if you want to dig deeper. It saves a ton of time. And if there are related videos, like from YouTube or images, it'll list those too. Super handy. Alright, just head over to Perplexity.ai and register an account. It's super straightforward. You can simply use your Google login to sign in. Once you're in, click on your profile, go to Settings, and on the left-hand side you'll see API Keys. Under that section, click Create New Key. Copy the key once it's generated, and let's jump back over to N8N. Click on Add, then search for Execute, and select Sub-Workflow. You can set up input parameters here, but for this demo, just choose Accept All Data. To keep it simple, let's also add a basic code node. Leave all the settings at their default. This kind of workflow doesn't need to be triggered manually. Just give it a name, and then head back to our main workflow. Alright, let's do a quick demo to see this in action. In our main workflow, start by making a copy of the defined blog tool. Disconnect it from the rest of the workflow, and disable the RSS feed. Now, add a manual trigger. Just click the plus icon, search for Manual, and add it. Connect the manual trigger to the copied node. Open the agent and remove the system prompt. In the prompt field, let's hard-code something simple, like search for the meaning of banana. In the tool, change the sub-work file to the one we just created. Now go ahead and click Test Workflow to see what happens. Next, head over to the sub-workflow, go to the Executions tab, and check out the code node. You'll see it received the parameters from the main workflow, and that's how a main workflow can send data into a sub-workflow. Simple and powerful. Alright, let's set this up for real. Head back to the workflow by clicking Edit. First, delete the code node. Then, add an HTTP node. In the HTTP node, set the method to post. Now, go to the community page, grab the endpoint URL, and paste it into the HTTP node. For authentication, use the credentials setup I showed earlier. Paste in your Perplexity API key where needed. Next, in the Send Body section, select Use JSON. Go back to the community page, copy the JSON structure provided and paste it here. Then click Out to save those changes. Now we need to reformat the input so it's ready to send back to the LLM. To do that, add a set node. Click the plus icon, search for set, and add it in. Open the set node, head back to the community page, copy the necessary snippet, and paste it into the node. Then click Save. And just like that, you've got a fully functional Perplexity search engine workflow ready to go. Alright, let's clean things up in our main workflow. Delete the temporary nodes we used for testing. Then re-enable the RSS feed node. Next, make sure your workflow is connected to the correct endpoint. Double-check that everything's wired up properly. Once that's done, click Execute and let's see what we get back. Alright, now we've got a complete block created, but there's one small issue. It's in Markdown. Since we prefer HTML for the next steps, let's convert it. Click the plus icon, search for the Markdown node, and add it to the workflow. Connect the output from the previous node into this Markdown node. For the destination key, set it to data. Make sure the option to add blank links is enabled. To add new options, just click the drop-down and select them from the list. Once your setup matches this, go ahead and click the Test button to run it. Awesome! Now we've got clean HTML. Next up, let's generate an image for our blog using the new OpenAI GPT 4.1 image tools. Click the plus button, search for OpenAI, and under that go to Images and select Generate an Image. Now just like I showed in previous videos, connect it to your OpenAI account. Once that's done, select DALL-E 3 as the model. For the prompt, head over to the community page, copy the prompt provided there, and paste it into the prompt field. Set the quality to High Definition. The resolution to 1792 by 1024, and the style to Vivid. Also, make sure to enable the option for Font with Image URL. Once everything's in place, click on Test Step. So what this means, if you see this error in the future or in other workflows, is that N8N is trying to access a parameter, but it can't find it. That's why it shows up as undefined. Specifically, it's looking in the Create SEO node. If we collapse the others and focus on that one, you'll see it's expecting three things: message, which it finds, content, also there, and then image description, which is missing. The issue is that image description is wrapped inside JSON, so the node can't read it properly. There's something off in how it's structured. Let's go back and take a look. Open up that node. Ah, there it is. This toggle needs to be enabled. So go ahead and click it, unpin the node, and then run it again. Great, that's much better. Now you can see that the SEO title, description, slug, summary, and image description are all separated out, so we can actually access and use them. I'll go ahead and close this, head back to the image generation node, and run it again. This time, it should work just fine. Perfect! Now if you copy that image URL and paste it into your browser, you'll be able to see the image that the OpenAI image generator created. Alright, at this point, I'm going to take a step back. When I first started putting this course together, the workflow looked a bit different. But as it often happens during development, things evolve. You learn new tricks and better ways to do things. To simplify things, I'm going to remove these two nodes from the workflow course. We've made a small change that makes them unnecessary. If you open up the Image Generator API node, scroll down to the bottom, you'll see the option we previously selected to return a URL. Go ahead and turn that off. This way, instead of getting a URL, we get the image directly. That saves us an extra step. We no longer need to download and re-upload the image. So remember, don't be afraid to experiment and pivot while you're building. It's all part of the process. All right, now that we've got the image ready, the next step is to resize it. Sometimes the images are quite large, and Ghostblog doesn't really like those big file sizes. To resize, we'll add an Edit Image node. Click the plus button, search for Edit Image, then Resize Image, and click on it. Now, in the new image settings, set the property name to data. That's important, because it's expecting the binary input in that format. Next, under the options, choose percentage, and for this example, I'm setting it to 50% to cut the size in half. You can adjust this however you like. I'll leave the height field empty to keep the aspect ratio intact. Once that's set, go ahead and click Test. Here's another interesting little quirk you'll probably run into often. When you're working with images in N8N and you pin a node, things can get a bit tricky. N8N tries to save space, so it doesn't properly pin image data. What ends up happening is you get an error saying it can't execute because, well, it can't store the image properly. So, if that happens, here's what to do. Just close the node, unpin the image, and run it again. This will recreate the image and allow N8N to use it in your workflow right away. Just something to keep in mind as you go. All right, let's put a pin in the image stuff for now. We'll circle back to that later. The final step is pushing our content to the Ghostblog. Now, of course, there are plenty of blogging platforms out there, but I've been using Ghost for a long time and I've been really happy with it, which is why I'm using it in this demo. I am self-hosting it, so it's basically free. If you want me to make a tutorial on that, just let me know. To get started, head over to the Resources tab in our community. I've already added the link there. Click on the Ghost link, go to ghost.org, and hit Get Started to register. I believe you can create a free account. Once you're signed up, you'll also find a link to the API documentation. This takes you to the endpoint details for posting content. Since we're creating a post, we'll be using the admin API. You'll see it listed under Tools. Click that, and it'll bring you to the page that explains how to create a post step by step. Now, I've made things easy by adding the necessary details to our school community. We'll just copy and paste from there. I am mainly walking you through this so you know where to find additional resources if you want to explore more advanced features, or if you decide to post content to a different blogging platform in the future. All right, let's add another HTTP node. Click the plus sign and search for HTTP to add the node. Once it opens, head over to the community page and copy the URL from there. For authentication, it works a little differently. Instead of using generic credentials, you'll use a predefined credential type. Under Credential Type, search for Ghost Admin API. Then, under that option, click on Create New Credential. To get this API key, head over to your Ghostblog. Click on Settings. Then scroll down on the left-hand side to Advanced and select Integrations. Under Custom Integrations, click Add Custom Integration. Give it a name and hit Add. Now, copy the API URL. Make sure it matches exactly. And then copy the admin API key. That's all you need. Now, set the headers. Make sure you include content type as multi-part form because this time we're sending form data. Scroll down to the body section and select Send Body. Choose Binary File since we're uploading an actual file. Make sure the file name is set to data, which should match the incoming image. Add another form data parameter. Name it Purpose and set the value to image. Finally, set the timeout to 5,000, that is 5 seconds, and rename the node to something like Upload Image so it's easy to identify later. Alright, good job for sticking with me. This is the last node. Once again, we're using an HTTP request node. Honestly, I just love these. They're super versatile. The easiest way to add it is to simply copy the previous one. Just hit Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V. That way, all the authentication settings are already in place. Now, here's what we'll change. Instead of sending form data, we're switching to JSON. So, first, change the content type header to application/JSON. Next, in the body section, switch the option to use JSON. Now, hop over to the community page, grab the new URL, and paste it into the URL field. Then, copy the JSON payload from the community, switch the input mode to expression, and paste the JSON code in there. Finally, open it up so we can review the structure and make sure everything looks good. As you can see, some of the nodes are showing execute previous nodes for preview. That just means we need to unpin everything and rerun the full workflow. So, close the preview window, select all the nodes, and either press P or click on each one and hit P to unpin them. Once that's done, go ahead and run the workflow again. Okay, I've noticed that the Edit Image node can be a bit picky. It sometimes breaks when we only provide one dimension. To work around that, I've calculated the ideal size that Ghost Blog prefers. So, open up the Edit Image node again, change the resize mode from percentage to only if larger, and then set the width to 1024 and the height to 585. After that, go ahead and run the workflow again. Whoops, my bad. Looks like we've hit one more snag. The error says, resource cannot be found, and that's because this request needs to be a post, not a GET. So go ahead and change the HTTP method to POST, and then run the workflow one more time. That should do the trick. Alright, the workflow ran successfully, and we've got ourselves a shiny new blog post. But before we jump over to Ghost to check it out, there's one last quick tweak I want to show you. Open up the Edit Image node, scroll down to the bottom, and click on Add Options. First, add the Format option and set it to PNG. Then, add file name and just put in any name you like. This helps prevent upload errors when posting to the blog. All set? Great. Now let's head over to Ghost and see how our post turned out. Alright, over in Ghost, you'll see there's a brand new post waiting. It's currently in draft mode. That's because, if you check back in the node, we had it set to create drafts. You can set it to publish directly, but I personally prefer to review everything first. When you open the draft, you'll see the image is there, your title is in place, and the post itself looks polished, complete with solid research and internal links. Over on the side panel, you'll also notice your slug, excerpt, and metadata are all filled out, making it SEO-friendly right out of the gate. Once you've reviewed the post and you're happy with it, just click the Publish button. You can also choose to email it to your subscribers if you'd like, or just go ahead and publish it straight away. After that, head over to your blog, and there it is, your brand new blog post, and ready for the world. All that's left to do now is a little cleanup. Arrange your nodes in the order that makes the most sense to you. Make sure everything is unpinned. Save the workflow and set it to active. Now the whole process is on autopilot. Each day, all you need to do is check the draft posts, review the content, and if you're happy with it, hit publish. And think bigger. This isn't just for blogs. This setup is something you could offer to companies that need to stay current with the latest events. You don't necessarily have to publish to a blog either. You could send the information to a spreadsheet, an email list, or plug it into any other system that fits your workflow. The possibilities are wide open. Thanks for sticking around to the end. If you found this helpful or it sparked some ideas for your own automation journey, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps more productivity enthusiasts discover these time-saving techniques. Until next time, keep automating the boring stuff. I'll see you in the next video.